Hey everyone, my name is Balaji and welcome to my channel. Today we'll be talking about my journey to Kenya. For me, it's going to be my first international trip in almost 2 years. My last trip was to Indonesia and it was cut short due to a family emergency, and I've been stuck in India ever since. Today is October 10th as I'm recording this, and my flight is in another few days. And I've been busy doing all my shopping for the past 2 weeks, and I think I'm finally done. So, first things first, let me tell you about the Kenya visa process. Everything is online, but here's the thing. If you search for Kenya visa, you will get lots of websites, and quite a lot of them are fake. There's only one website that for Kenyan visa, and it's called evisa.go.ke. I'll drop the link in the description below. That's where you go to apply for Kenyan visa. It's pretty straightforward. Once you create an account, you just basically fill in all your details, and the requirements for visa are flight tickets to and from, booking accommodations. That's pretty much it, and a small itinerary of describing where you're going to go, what you're going to do. I don't think that's important, but that's it. And once that's done, you create your account, you select your visa types. I recommend you select the single entry. There is an option for multiple entry, but that seems more for business oriented people. I suggest you avoid that and go for the single entry. It's $51. And anyway, you fill in all the details. There's about I don't know, a dozen pages, but it's all simple details. uh, Name, age, address, parents name, etc., etc., purpose of visit. So far everything seems fine. The tricky part comes at the last page when you're uploading your documents, because you see, for this visa, for this website, at the last page you'll see a line that says all documents must be in JPEG format and size must not be greater than 293 kilobytes. For anyone who's ever uploaded any documents anywhere, you'll know how laughable this is. But Google to the rescue. And another funny thing, this, for some reason, they want a photo of the passport front cover, not just the front few pages and back few pages as we usually see. The passport front cover. I had to read it twice to make sure I understood it. Has anyone ever heard of anything like anyone else asking for this? Because I never have. If you have, mention it in the comments. And just like that, in half an hour, my visa was ready. So the process is very simple and very easy. Now, to be clear, this is not the visa in itself. You have to take a color printout of this document, take it with you, and when you land in Kenya, at the immigration, you have to hand in this document. They will then stamp your passport with the actual visa, and I believe the visa is for 90 days period maximum. There you go. That's all it is. As for what questions they'll ask at immigration, I'll tell you on the other side. One other thing that's important is you need to have your yellow fever vaccination done. They'll give, and it has to be internationally approved. They'll give you an yellow booklet, and that's something you have to show at immigration also. How important it is, I don't know. Again, another thing I'll tell you on the other side of my travel. For now, I've done all my shopping. The thing that's left to do is just pack. So that's my COVID test taken care of. Now I just need to take my printouts and then start packing. So I have to take all of this into those 2 bags, which doesn't seem like a lot, but the more you pack, the more you find you need. So finally, there we go. Everything packed, all my belongings packed into 2 bags. This is going to be it for the next 3 months. I probably forgot something, but I'll remember to only when the flight takes off. So that's it now. Now just try to get some sleep. Good night, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye. Showtime. So I'm done packing almost 40 days of preparation since I booked a flight, all my planning preparation, and I'm still nervous right now. What if I forget that one little thing I need at the airport? Time to find out. So, let's go. So I'm here at the airport. My check-in is done, and didn't ask much actually. Just for my yellow fever vaccination, my COVID vaccination certificate, my negative COVID report, and that's it. They stamped and sent me on my way. So here I am waiting for my flight, and I guess I'll see you all in Nairobi. Wish me luck. Bye. So I finally arrived at my friend's house, and airport arrival at Nairobi is pretty small. From the time you get off the plane and the bus takes you to the uh, it takes you to the airport. The first thing they check is whether you have the negative COVID report. Once at the passport, they didn't ask me anything. I had my bookings, my return tickets, but they didn't ask me anything. I just showed my online visa printout, my passport, and 1 minute later, they stamped and sent me on my way. I the baggage collection was literally 5 steps away from passport control. It's a very small arrivals area. Once I got my baggage, another 10 steps and I was out of the airport. And that's it. You're free to go anywhere you want in Kenya. So I'm here. I'm going to take some rest and tomorrow start exploring Kenya. So this is called 14 Falls waterfall. That's literally what they call it, and it looks pretty nice. If the water was a bit cleaner, it would be so much nicer, but I'm told this is happening only now. Last year the water was so much clean and much nicer than this. Still, it's okay, but the entrance is a bit expensive. I paid 1,500 Kenyan shillings. That's like 1,100 rupees, something like that. For locals, it's like 100, or they can even enter for free if they're very close. Anyway, still, it's a beautiful day. The sun is hot, but there's nice cold breeze. Hey guys, so finally I got my stay sorted out in Nairobi. It's a apartment hotel, and it's like let me show you. It's the kitchen here. It's basically what they call a bedsit apartment. And let me show you. Nice compact bathroom, washroom. They have Netflix, YouTube. Wi-Fi is fairly fast. Nice comfortable bed. So here's the balcony. Not much of a view, but there's fresh air. So this is my place for the next month. I'll be settled here and going around Nairobi. Pick this as my home base. This is my home away from home. Good afternoon, people. I finally got settled into my long stay apartment, and I'm looking forward to the weekend so I can start exploring the place. So I thought this would be a good time to end the video here and summarize the stuff that I found in Kenya. It's been 8 days since I landed, so let me tell you how it went. And starting from India, at the check-in counter, they asked me for my yellow fever vaccination card. That is very important. I saw a guy near me, and just before me, being denied because he didn't have the vaccination booklet. and they want a negative PCR test, of course, and your vaccination certificate and your online visa, and that's it. And on the Kenyan side, once you enter the airport, somebody will take that barcode pay printout that you have and let you go to the counters for immigration. Immigration is a very small space. There are only two counters for foreigners, and for me, they did not ask anything at all. The immigration officer, I just handed him my passport and my online visa. He checked a few things, took my picture, and within a minute, he just let me go. He didn't ask me for my booking, uh, accommodation proof, or anything else, or my return ticket, which I had ready. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't. I saw another person before me. The officer was asking him, "Where is your booking accommodation? You say you're going to stay with your brother, sister. Where is the proof of that?" And I saw that guy going to the side and trying to make a call. And after I finished my immigration, I saw another officer questioning another guy, "Where is your return ticket? You have your ticket from India to Nairobi, but where are you going after that?" So it's not a good idea not to have them. I suggest you have some at least temporary arrangement and at least a refundable return ticket to show at the immigration. Just because I didn't have to show them doesn't mean that you won't be asked to show them. Now that immigration is done, here's the funny part. The entire arrivals airport is extremely tiny. From the immigration to baggage collection, 10 steps. That's it. There are some small belts, three or four small baggage belts that were delivering the luggage. Mine was already there, so I picked mine up and went out. Another 10 steps to customs check. They just asked to scan my hand luggage, and that was it. Another 5 steps to the place just before the exit where you can book the cabs, um, get your SIM card, etc. I will come back to the SIM card in a moment. And yeah, after that, it's basically the exit. You have free Wi-Fi at the airport, so once you go out, you will see the normal crowd. Taxi drivers asking you where you want to go, etc., etc. You can book an Uber from the airport Wi-Fi. It works well. It works well even if you're outside the uh, exit for the airport, so you can do that. Now coming back to SIM card, I was told that getting a SIM card at the airport would be very expensive. You would have to spend almost 1,000 shillings. That's what I told. So I didn't bother. I was told that you could get SIM cards easily once you're in the city. But the thing is, the people who told me that were all Kenyans. Whenever I go to any before that, Safaricom is the main telecom provider here, and that's probably who you will take the SIM with. There's also Airtel, but I haven't explored that. And so, in any shop that gives SIM card, most or all of the shops I visited to get the SIM card told me they were only authorized for Kenyan IDs. They were not authorized for foreigners. So you would have to go to one of the big shops to get your SIM card, and that was a pain for me. I only got my SIM card after 4 days. So thinking back, it might be better just to get the SIM card from the airport itself, even if it costs a bit more. Though I have to say, when I did get my SIM card at the office, I was not asked for any money at all. I just 200 shillings as a top up. No, I did not pay anything for the SIM card at all. So use that information as much as you want. Also, on the subject of networks, I had a Jio and BSNL SIM card in my phone, both of which are not picking up roaming here. So if you want to do any online transaction for which you need OTP, it won't work. I even paid Jio for 1,100 rupees for a international roaming package. Didn't work. I'm trying to follow up with their customer care and get something done, but as of now, I don't have any hope of that. Money, right? Money. I did not see any ATMs in the uh, arrival section. There was a currency exchange center, money exchange bureau, but I did not see any ATM. But I didn't look very hard, so I can't be 100% sure. But it's better to if somebody else can maybe correct me on this. If you see an ATM, take some cash, or if at the money bureau, take some exchange some currency for local money. For the start, I think 1,000 or 2,000 shillings should be enough to get you started. My HDFC Bank card worked perfectly fine here, uh, which is a surprise because when I traveled to Indonesia and Thailand, the first transaction they allowed me, but immediately blocked my card after that. I had to call back to my Indian customer care and get them to unblock it. But here, that doesn't seem to be any problems. I've been using to withdraw cash, pay at supermarkets, etc., and no problems at all. And I seem to be getting very good rates out of it. I don't know if my bank will charge me extra charges later on, but that comes later. So that's money covered, ATM, SIM card covered. What else? Oh yeah, general life in Kenya. A lot of people have told me that you should be very careful with your electronics, with your phone. Don't just randomly walk around with your phone visible. Lot of pickpockets uh, and so I'm going to. I think that's a good idea in general. Most of the Kenyans I talk to have been very cheerful and friendly, but I have no doubt there are some few bad apples that are spoiling things for the others. So be careful with your stuff. I have yet to explore the city. I have a few plans the weekend to go and go exploring. So we'll see how that goes. And other general stuff in Thailand. Oh yeah, most places here do not have AC or fan. That's because the general climate is moderate, temperate. It might seem a bit hot outside, but there's almost always some cool wind blowing in, and and in the room itself you don't really feel that hot. Just keep the windows open, you'll get a nice breeze. But there is the problem of mosquitoes. So any room you going into, if you you're settling into, if you don't have mosquito repellent or mosquito coils, best to get them. It will be very annoying in the room when you sleep if when the mosquitoes are buzzing around your ears. Trust me, I know that from experience. And finally, Nairobi is not a budget friendly place. It's expensive, at least accommodation wise, it's expensive. And the thing to understand is you might find a cheap place online, but the area it is located in matters a lot. The room might be nice, the couch cost might be very cheap, but if the area is not very good, you might run into problems. You might not feel comfortable staying there, lots of other things. So my advice is don't book long stay accommodations before you come here. I advise you to find a temporary place, to stay for a week, and then you can go around, talk to the locals, get some general advice on which area to stay, and book your place accordingly. Again, my advice is to pay a bit more to stay in a good area so you will feel comfortable staying there. That's what I did. I got lots of advice. Luckily, I had some friends here, so they could guide me on which areas to stay in and which areas to avoid. I'm not going to say those areas because it's doesn't seem right. There are probably good people in those areas too. It wouldn't be nice to say avoid staying there. And what else? What else? What else? I think that covers most of it. Yeah, travel. There are matatus like small coaches that you pay. They're very cheap, but they're also very tiny. And for somebody with my height, it's very cramped. Also, I've been advised to be careful while getting into matatus. You might get robbed or something. So be careful. I generally find Uber to be convenient and very straightforward. The Uber cabs are called Chap Chap, and bikes are called Bardo, I think. I should have checked. But yeah, those are relatively affordable, and currency exchange rate is about 1 Indian rupees is about 1.48 shillings, and and as apart from the expensive accommodation, I have a feeling that most everything else is cheap. I mean, relatively cheaper than India, but I haven't done a point to point comparison yet, so I will let you know about that in the next videos. So I think I covered everything I wanted to say. So that's it from me. Have a good day wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.